Hey, welcome to week 5 of the Connected Life Book Club podcast. I'm Summer. This is Candace. We
Hello.
are diving into chapters 13 through 15 this week. Hope you guys are liking the book. Hope you're still sticking with it. If you're just actually joining us this week and jumping in, welcome to you too. I'm hoping that there was something in these chapters that you guys could relate to. Candace, do you want to get us started off?
You know, to be perfectly honest, I felt like these were some of the first chapters that I really connected with.
Oh, okay.
And that sounds bad, so it's like chapter 13. I mean, the other ones were good to spark, conversation and had little, good nuggets of truth. But when I read chapter 14, I legit cried.
Oh,
I was really moved because it was when Bob was in India, I think, and he was, whatever happened went wrong, and he was.
And she got that call that
she
didn't know if he was going to.
Yeah, I don't know. That one moved me. But chapter 13, I felt was really good because she was just talking about finding peace. And so the question is, God can work through the big fears in our life. When was a time when you felt supernatural peace in an otherwise fear-filled situation?
So we are actually, Facebook keeps reminding me, coming up on the 3-year anniversary of when my daughter was in the hospital.
Oh, right.
And so I don't know if you remember that, Candace, but I was brand new to the station. Mm-hmm. My 15-month-old had just actually started crawling. She had gross motor delays. And so right after kind of acquiring that skill, she was sitting at dinner one day and holding her wrist really weird and wasn't using it anymore. And she couldn't say anything except for ow. That was the one word that she knew. And so we knew something was wrong. Something hurt. Called her doctor. They said, go to the ER, get her checked out. And over the next several weeks, I think 3 ER visits, 3 times admitted to the hospital, one for a longer duration. And we didn't know what was wrong with her. Mm-hmm. And the doctors were offering this whole spectrum of everything from nothing really, NBD, to leukemia. We didn't know it was anything.
Wow.
And up to that point, I was the kind of mom who, if I saw posts about sick kids on Facebook, I would have to literally just say a quick prayer and keep scrolling. I couldn't even read it because letting that in emotionally, I'd immediately associate with my kids and I'd break. And so I didn't know how I was going to react having a child whose mortality really I'm having to face because I didn't know what was wrong. Yikes. And but in that time, I mean, there was plenty of tears, but there was also this strength and this stillness that I didn't know that I had. And learning that through that season of having to really be there to believe that I could handle it and that I could be strong for my daughter, my husband, and my family. I wouldn't have believed it had I not experienced it myself. And I think that what it comes down to is, God will give us more than we can handle.
Right.
But he won't give us more than he can handle. Mm-hmm. And because he's living in us, when we really dig deep down, I mean, we're going to find a strength that we didn't know was there.
Right.
And so that was, I think, the season for me where I experienced that most directly.
Yeah, I can imagine that would be incredibly scary. Mm-hmm. And just the unknown, especially.
And that was the hardest part.
Right. Now that I'm thinking about it, is this the chapter where Bob got taken in India or whatever happened?
Girl, I don't know.
Okay, cool. Well, let's pretend.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that for me, I don't know. I can't pinpoint a specific moment where I've had supernatural peace, so to say, but I do know that it has happened in my life. And the times that I can think of specifically are when I'm just feeling really overwhelmed with anxiety, which is something that I struggle with. And, it just kind of, sometimes it just hits me out of nowhere. Sometimes it's rooted in a specific circumstance. But if it's one of those times where I feel like I genuinely can't get out of bed, I usually start by praying and then thanking God for all of the things that he's given me and thanking God for all the things that I can do. And it just makes the worries and the things on my to-do list that much smaller. And so it's it's going from that uncontrollable throat closing, stomach churning. I call it steel butterflies kind of feeling in your stomach to feeling like a marshmallow. And it's oh, this is lovely. and just like knowing that that's God working through that situation. That's the time where I've experienced, I guess, supernatural kind of peace.
Yeah. And I thank God all the time that, well, I have God, because I don't know how people face some of the circumstances that life throws at us without Jesus, without that.
Totally.
That's crazy. Chapter 14, is there a place in your life where you feel as though you are constantly in the get set stage? In what areas is God calling you to go?
So this one was tough for me because I don't know. I feel like Andrew and we just got married, a year and a half ago, and we're kind of more so in like a settling phase of our lives of just like, all right, we got our feet under ourselves, finally, and we're kind of in a time of stability, which is good. But I do have this like constant desire to travel. And so that's always in the back of my heart, in the back of my head. And ever since, my first international missions trip when I was like 15, went to Kenya and Uganda. And it was like ever since then, I knew that I would want to travel, for whatever purpose. And so I feel like God is going to use that, but I do think that I'm kind of still in a get ready phase, and not necessarily that I know my purpose and that I just need to go, because I feel kind of like I'm, ready to jump on that purpose, but I just don't know what it is yet.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's kind of more like, taking advantage of the get ready phase.
So it's not so much like you are just sitting in this preparation phase. It's like I picture someone planning to climb Mount Everest and they're just hanging out at base camp. They're like, tomorrow's the day. And they just really take advantage of base camp. So you're not there. You're like, look, I'm ready to go. I just don't know which direction I'm headed.
Right. It's more so like I just feel like I genuinely am using the preparation time. Like it's still in that preparation phase. So I just don't know what go looks like. So, whether that's short-term trips or being involved with a ministry or supporting missionaries or I don't know yet. What about you? Do you have something where God is calling you to go?
Not specifically. I think that for me, I feel like I'm always looking. Okay, let's see. I think it's a little different from yours in the sense that for me, my eyes are always on the go and they're never on the what can I be doing now? Like, how can I be getting ready? And so like when I was in college, for example, I started my schooling at Moody as a missions major. So I'm like, I'm going to go to Africa and I'm going to be a missionary full time. Like that was what I thought I was supposed to do. And so my eyes were on that. Like I'm preparing for this. This is coming. This is what I'm supposed to be doing, that I wasn't present. I wasn't realizing that my go starts now. It was this future thing. And then having kids, I think that I fell into that again, like a little bit, because as I have this baby, it's like, man, one day they're going to be walking and this is all the stuff that we're going to be able to do as a family when they're walking. And then I'm going to be able to like have full conversations with my kids. And I was always looking ahead at that next stage and what life was going to bring instead of realizing that, like my go starts now. Like what am I supposed to be doing here and in the moment? And I was living in the future and I wasn't being present. I think that's something that I often struggle with. I'm a big dreamer. I'm a big picture person and I'm excited and ambitious, but I sometimes miss the opportunities that are right in front of me right now.
That's so funny. I think that we have opposite problems. Yeah. Like I'm just not a dreamer. It's like I usually stumble into what I'm supposed to be doing and I'm like, oh, this is cool. Let's hang out. Like, I totally, that makes me laugh. So chapter 15, connecting with people is not about being perfect. It's not about having everything in its place, but being present. So how do you intentionally make those loving connections with your family and friends?
Okay, so
I feel like you're going to steal my answer. Don't steal my answer.
Okay, so you go first.
No, that's okay. You can steal my answer.
Okay, now I have all this pressure because I'm trying to figure out what your answer is going to be.
We'll find out.
Okay. So for me, it's actually been a journey to be able to realize that my lack of perfection is I feel like a tool that God has given me to use. Like whether it's in, you know, my radio ministry and trying to be transparent in my struggles and let people know that they're not alone in what they're going through, or with my kids, like realizing that the greatest lesson I can teach Aurelia and Arwen is not how to live perfectly, but how to fail well. And so that has been something that I have kind of come to embrace about myself, is my lack of perfection. Now, some days the anxiety stemming from that like overwhelms me, to be real. But being present with my kids is something that I'm always striving for. Like I said, like for me, my eyes are always on the future and on the horizon instead of what's right in front of me. And so I try every day to stand my kids in front of me, and I tell them, and they usually finish it for me because they know what I'm going to say. And I just say, Aurelia, I love you. I'm proud of you. And you are going to do amazing things. And like that little mantra is something I try to speak into my kids' lives, because I want them to know that, you know, I'm not perfect. They're not perfect. We're not perfect together. And being present in the moment is valuable. And it's hard.
Yeah.
There's so many things distracting us.
Yeah. Focusing more on what is instead of what could be.
Yeah.
Yeah. That can be tough.
Yeah.
That can be really tough. I think for me, I mean, just being present a lot of times is just putting the phone down. Like,
yeah.
I mean, and it's so cliche because, you know, we hear it all the time, but the amount of times that I find myself in a room with usually the people that I'm closest with, because that's when you feel most comfortable, and everyone's on their phones, and it's like, hey, did you see this thing on YouTube? Hey, did you see, you know, and you kind of like use that as a jumping off point for conversation. I don't know. I mean, there's a time and a place for it, but, you know, especially when you're around your spouse, I mean, you know, your family, your close friends, it's like being more intentional about that time, because it feels weird sometimes to like even hear my phone vibrate and just in my head go, don't look at it. Don't look at it. Focus. Be in the moment, you know, because it makes a big difference.
And that's real. And I think for our generation, especially, probably our generation is the first to really struggle with this. Not to say that people older than us don't struggle with this too, but I think for us, the cell phone, everyone has a phone thing happened when we were, you know, junior high school, like adolescents, and still we're kind of riding that wave. And so as a parent, what we used to do is we had something called, what we called, I think it was called the phone zone. And it was just a box that I had literally screwed to the wall that had chargers kind of running through it. So you just come in, plug your phone in, it would sit there by the front door until you were ready to leave the house, because that's when you would need it again. It didn't last.
No, yeah.
Because then the kid, you know, the grandparents are like, well, I want pictures of the kids and I want to FaceTime. And so all of a sudden you need your phone on you more. And there's always some reason you need your phone on you.
No,
I need to Google this. I need to post something. It's just, and so that's something I really want to get back to, because phone addiction is real, yo. Like it's hard. How many times have Adrian and I deleted all the games on our phone? Those stupid, mindless, ridiculous, annoying, not even that fun games that I'm just like lying in bed, open a game, like it's been an hour and I'm late for work.
Oh no, yeah.
It's real. It's serious stuff.
For sure. Yeah, and I think, I don't know, one thing that I've been trying to be really intentional about lately is, I mean, of course, being present, but also taking the first step with family and friends to reach out. Because a lot of times we just get in our routine, we just get in, you know, your regular pace of life, and you go, oh, I haven't seen that person in a while. I really wish they'd call me. You know, and it's like, and I think about it too, especially with friends, just because we're at a weird life stage where, you know, some people have families, and I'm like, well, I don't want to, you know, be imposing. What if they're just putting their kid down for a nap and I call and it's, you know, it wakes the baby up, or I don't know. I get all those weird things in my mind that like talk me out of reaching out. And I kind of just I had to like shift the responsibility off of myself and just like, I want to spend time with my friends, so the only thing I can do is reach out. And
Adrian
if they respond, if they, you know, don't, whatever, it's fine.
Yeah.
I just can only be in control of that.
We went through that yesterday. It's so silly because you get like offended. You're like, I haven't seen this person in forever. I can't believe they haven't called me. Like, how selfish. I thought we were friends. And you're like, okay, I haven't called them either. Like, and you having to take that ownership back because they're probably thinking the same thing. And if they pop into your head, then the onus is on you to call.
Right.
And to take that.
I just had like a moment. It was a real like soul search moment for me this weekend, because I saw that there are a couple of my friends that still play rugby for a women's league, and they were in town playing Madison. And I was like, oh, well, that's sad. They didn't even reach out.
Call me. Yeah.
I would have gone to that game. I wasn't doing anything. But then I think about it and I'm like, well, I go back to the Twin Cities where they all live, and like, I don't reach out because it's not the most convenient thing. Like,
Yeah.
I'm usually going back to see my family or whatever. So I understand that people's head just isn't in the right space sometimes, or, you know, just in the same space as yours. And so, yeah, it's those like moments where I'm like doing some self-reflection and like, why do I feel bad right now? Do I make other people feel that way when I'm in a similar situation? And yeah, I think that's one way that I try to be more present for family and friends.
Good. Work in progress may never be finished.
Right, exactly.
Well, we hope that you enjoyed this week's podcast. I hope that you join us next week. Next week is week 6. That's our last.
It's the last podcast for this book.
The last discussion guide.
Right.
Podcast.
Right.
So next week, join us for week 6. We're going to be covering the last 4 chapters of the book. And then Candace and I have one more full-length podcast coming out where we'll just kind of have a formal full book club discussion.
Yeah, it'll be more of like this is Summer and I's book club where we actually take, you know, however long it takes to talk about the entirety of the book instead of.
And we're going to tell you what we really thought of it. we're gonna be honest.
Oh boy! All right.
I actually don't know how Candace feels, so this is going to be exciting. But thank you so much for joining us again. See you next week.